The roles of the most important Hibernate interfaces in the business and persistence layers of a J2EE application in Hibernate. Here you can see the roles of the most Hibernate interfaces important in the persistent and business layers of an application J2EE. The business layer is located on the persistence layer, since the business layer acts as a customer of the persistence layer. The interfaces shown can be classified as follows. Interfaces called by the application to perform basic operations, insertions, deletions, queries, etc. Session, transaction, and query. Interfaces called by the application infrastructure code to configure Hibernate. But the most important is the class configuration. Callback interfaces that allow the application to react to certain events that occur within the application, such as interceptor, lifecycle, and validatable. The interfaces that allow you to extend the mapping functionalities of Hibernate, for example, user type, composite user type, and identifier generator. Also, Hibernate makes use of Java APIs such as JDBC, J2EE, Java Transform to TOPI, and Java Transaction API and JNDI, Java Naming Directory Interface. We will give you a brief review of some of the mentioned interfaces. The interface session is one of the primary interfaces in any Hibernate application. An instance of session, it is not very heavy, and its creation and destruction is very cheap. This is important as our application, you will need to create and destroy sessions all the time, maybe in every request. It may be helpful to think of a session as a cache or collection of objects loaded or from a database related to a single work unit. Hibernate can detect changes in objects belonging to a work unit. The interface session factory allows you to get instances session. This interface is not light and should share among many threads of execution. Typically, there is one session factory for entire application created during its initialization. However, if the application access to several databases, you will need a session factory by each database. Interface configuration used to configure and start Hibernate. The application uses an instance of configuration to specify the location of documents, indicating the mappings of objects and specific properties of Hibernate, and then create the session factory. The interface query allows requests to the database and control how that request is executed. Query requests are written in SQL or in the native SQL dialect of the database we are using. An instance query is used to link the parameters of the request, limit the number of results returned by the request, and to execute said request. Fundamental and very important element in Hibernate's architecture is the notion of type. An object type Hibernate matches the Java type with a type of the column in the database. All persistent properties of persistent classes, including associations, they have a corresponding Hibernate type. Each design makes Hibernate highly flexible and extensible. Even user-defined types interfaces are allowed user type and composite user type. Session, transaction, query, session factory, configuration, inserts, interceptor, and user types are inside persistent layer. Interceptor and user type are connected to persistent classes. Lifecycle and persistent classes are connected to lifecycle and validatable. Lifecycle, validatable, and persistent classes are inside business layer. Business layer is connected to persistent layer. Here you can see below persistent layer JNDI, JDBC, and J2EE. Here Hibernate APIs are lifecycle, validatable, session, transaction, query, session factory, configuration, user type, and interceptor. Here J2EE APIs are JNDI, JDBC, and J2EE. Now this is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for watching it.